Hey, what's up dudes? I just spent all morning watching a bunch of YouTube videos on how to develop your biceps. And I gotta say, there is a lot of videos out there, and some channels dedicate dozens of videos to this very subject, and for good reason. I mean, biceps are an amazing muscle group. They look really cool. But one thing I noticed right away is that these channels will try to discredit all the information out there and try to convince you that they're the only ones that know how to develop your biceps. And I gotta say, that's not true. I want to talk about the single thing that these channels don't want to talk about in this video, so let's get started. I started today with a great breakfast. Food is of course an integral part in building muscle, so you can't forget that. But this video, it's all about the workout, so let's head out. They got some amazing clothing. Make sure you check out TLF.com. Use our code TLF-Buff to get 15% off. Make sure you let them know the Buff Dude sent you. Made it to the gym, had a great breakfast, and like I was saying before, food is an integral part to building the muscles. I mean, it's the supplies you're giving your body to be able to build the muscle, but you need to activate the muscle. You need to stimulate the muscle in order for it to adapt and grow, and that's why we're in the gym here. We're gonna be doing certain exercises that are gonna help that muscle adapt and grow and get bigger, because that's what we all want, right? That's why you're watching this video, and that's why there's thousands of videos out there. And I just have to say, the one thing that all those videos don't want to talk about, and it's the simplicity of building your biceps. It's going to be elbow flexion. Elbow flexion is essentially the curling action. It's taking your forearms, taking this joint, it's flexing up, bring your hands up, bring them back down. Very, very simple. That's it. Can you screw it up? Absolutely. You can start swinging the weight and go too heavy. I mean, there's still ways to fuck it up, but as simple as it is, a lot of these people don't want to talk about it. They're always going to talk about maybe, hey, do my particular movement that's going to help stimulate the muscles over everything else. And that's untrue. What you want to do is keep it as simple as you can. Now I got to talk about being a beginner, because when I first started, I was a huge fan of bodybuilding. Naturally, I look at some of these bodybuilders. They had huge arms. I wanted to jump in on their program. And that can be detrimental to growth, because for me, I jumped in on Arnold's bodybuilding competition training where he was doing like 30 sets of biceps. And as like a 14-year-old, I couldn't even move my arms the next day because I was not used to that at all. The volume was way too high. There was way too many exercises. My little biceps could not handle that. I didn't even know how to activate my biceps. And that's one thing you have to remember in the beginning. You're not doing curls necessarily to immediately just get your biceps super huge and grow like 4 inches overnight. You're really trying to train yourself how to activate them, how to contract them. It's called neural adaptivity, where your neural connections, your mind-muscle connection is adapting to the stresses put on. Because at first this is, okay, for an example, you'll see a lot of those guys in the gym, they'll get under a bench press. They'll kind of flop around like this, and we've all been there, I definitely have, They don't even know how to contract their muscles. Their body's doing whatever it can to get that weight up. Same thing with curls. As a beginner, you could be doing curls and you're fucking flinging the weight around and stuff like that because you don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know how to contract that muscle. But the good thing about bicep curls, the good thing about developing the biceps, the movement is so simple, it's literally elbow flexion. It's this. That's it. So one thing, if you're first starting out, take it light. Do not go heavy in any motions. You're trying to teach yourself how to do that motion, not only the motion, but how to contract this muscle in order to bring the forearm up. I know, it sounds super simple, but that's what it should be in the beginning. There's no fancy exercise that you need to do, but as you progress from a beginner to more advanced, that's when you're having to increase the volume. Volume being the amount of sets, the amount of repetitions, and sometimes the volume over the whole week, meaning your frequency increases too. So you're not only doing maybe one session of bicep exercises, you're doing another one later on in the week. So you're doing a couple different sessions of bicep exercises throughout the week. So your volume is increasing over time because
Your now muscles are adapted to what it was previously doing, and you have to increase it slightly. It's called progressive overload. You don't have to just increase the weight, you can increase the volume. You can increase the amount of exercises, the sets, the reps, the frequency. So that is one thing that is different over time from beginning to advanced. Now, another thing is you can incorporate different techniques that are a little bit more advanced. Supersets. Now, supersets are a technique that is going from one exercise immediately onto a different exercise with no rest in between. So you're increasing the stimulation and fatigue in the muscle. Let's say you're going on to barbell curls, boom, busting them out, oh, burning, whew, that feels really good. Got 12 repetitions, you're immediately, without any rest, going on to, let's say, incline dumbbell curls. Ooh, extra stimulation, there's a little extra volume, not a lot of rest. I mean, it's something that you may have not introduced in the beginning, but now it's something new, stimulating the muscle in a new way, and then promoting more growth over time. There's drop sets. That increases more fatigue in the muscle as well. You're performing the exercise with a certain amount of weight, you're burning out at that weight, the muscles are completely fatiguing, you're dropping the weight in order to allow it to continue to do repetitions at the lighter weight, dropping it again, and so on. So you're incorporating a lot of different muscle fibers in that single exercise, in that single session of the elbow flexion, and there you go. That's extra stimulation, extra growth you can incorporate. So there are those advanced movements and techniques that you incorporate. Now, even though as simple as it is with elbow flexion, there are ways to make it a little bit more complex. And that's what happens as you get more advanced. The complexity of your training increases. So all in all, it is elbow flexion. That's what you have to think about. That's what you want to do. Compound movements are extremely important. Bent over rows, that's really going to hit the biceps. Pull-ups, it's going to hit the biceps. But when you want to target certain muscle groups, that's when you introduce isolation movements, curls, elbow flexion. It's time to go over some of my favorite biceps exercises and ones that have developed my arms over the years. Now, you'll probably notice I'm saying my biceps because you're not me, I'm not you. Everyone's a little bit different, but I have to be honest, these exercises have really helped develop these guns naturally, so I highly recommend them. Now, the first exercise is going to be the classic barbell curl. I'm saying classic, it's classic for a reason. Everyone pretty much knows it and you've probably done it yourself. Now, the reasons why I love it so much is because one, it's going to force your palms to be in a supinated position. So palms facing up, it puts the angle at an optimal position to really help isolate the biceps at their most. So both heads fire up, boom, elbow flexion. Very simple. Now, another reason why I love this exercise is because you can go pretty damn heavy with it. As you increase the weight, you're going to be putting more emphasis, more stimulation and fatigue in the muscle there. Now, you'll see a lot of guys, they'll incorporate cheat curls. Now, this is a little bit more advanced movement, so I wouldn't say do this right away. Keep the weight light. If you're first starting out, really feel that motion, but the more advanced you get, cool thing about this exercise, go a little bit heavier with it, boom, lower body helps out, get a little bit of the hip flexion, lean back slightly, you cheat it up, but you are increasing the weight, the progressive overload, and it's developing the biceps a lot. So I did incorporate the cheat curls in the more advanced I got, and I feel like they definitely help develop a little bit more size and strength in my biceps there. I always start my biceps exercises with this one. I pyramid up in weight, going from a little bit lighter, really feel that biceps activation, slowly increase the weight, go down to repetitions, go really heavy with it, and maybe do a drop set to finish it off to really fatigue the biceps and get a massive pump. So we got these ones out of the way. Let's go to the next two. Exercise number 2, it's going to be the incline dumbbell curls. Now, much like we went over why the barbell curls work so much, I want to talk about why you would incorporate the incline dumbbell curls. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I really enjoy this exercise. One being that you can adjust the angle of the bench. So you can start with a lower angle, very low in fact. You can even go flat if you like. Each set, you increase the angle, and so on. So very adjustable to each set. Now, a lot of people might not explain why you would do such a thing. You're like, well, you know, because of the pain. But there's reasons why you're increasing or decreasing the angle of a movement or changing the angle altogether. Now, with the incline dumbbell curls, the reason why this works so well and why it's incorporating a bit different function and action in the biceps is because now you're leaning back and all of a sudden your elbow is placed behind you. Now that's creating more stretch in the long head of the biceps. Now they're creating more stretch, the muscle's gonna have to then incorporate a bit more contraction to pull that forearm upwards, so that elbow flexion there. So it's going to have to really contract to pull it up from that stretch position. That's one of the reasons why you incorporate different angles, and that's why the incline dumbbell curl is so good for that, because it's placing the elbow behind you. Now you can be in an extreme angle where the elbow at a lying position is all the way behind you, which, gotta say, this isn't for everyone, because if you're in this lying position, you're curling way back here. So because the long head connects through the bicipital groove, the humerus there, in kind of past the shoulder girdle, is gonna create a lot of stretch in that long head through here, curl from this position, boom, get a lot of activation. And then of course, if that gives you a little too much pain in the shoulder joint, which it might for some people, you can still incorporate that stretch, but you don't have to do it at such an extreme angle. So very adjustable, which is nice. Really good activation there, really good stretch, and then good squeeze at the top. Now, another reason why I love the incline dumbbell curls is because you can not only adjust the angle of your shoulder, increasing more stretch in the long head, now you can incorporate the supinating action of your hands there, of your wrists. So you're not only getting the curl, the elbow flexion, now you're supinating up, twisting your forearms and your hands upward. So now you're incorporating two different actions that the biceps help with: elbow flexion and now supination. So a lot of extra activation, extra stimulus in the biceps. That's why this one works so well, and I highly recommend it. The last exercise is going to be the concentration curl. There's many ways to perform this exercise, but most likely it's going to be performed with a dumbbell, and you are putting your elbow in front of you. It's either going to be supported on a bench, either be a preacher curl, a regular bench press, incline bench press, or in a bent over position, much like this. But you immediately notice that the angle or the positioning of the elbow is quite a bit different than the other two exercises, the barbell curl and the incline dumbbell curl. Barbell curl, the elbow is right at your side, incline dumbbell curl is behind you. This one now, all of a sudden, the elbow is placed in front of you. So what we were talking about, the incline dumbbell curl, is that it puts more stretch in the long head because the elbow is behind you. Now with the elbow in front of you, the long head is going to be a little bit more relaxed. It is no longer in a stretch position, so the short head now can take over a little bit more. So maybe a little bit more activation in the short head, and that's why this one's incorporated, because now you're trying to put a bit more emphasis on that short head. So hanging position, squeeze, back down. The other reason why I really like this, not only because of the angle and because of it putting more emphasis on the short head, is because it's a unilateral motion, meaning that you're incorporating one side at a time. The other two, they're bilateral, although you can use alternating in the incline dumbbell curls if you'd like. But this one is only really concentrating on one arm at a time, one biceps at a time. And that's gonna be important because sometimes you might have some asymmetrical problems. One side a little bit more developed than the other. This one can key in on that. You can do a little bit more repetitions. That's one of the reasons why unilateral exercises are very important. But also you can really, as much as the name explains, concentrate on the movement, concentrate on that single biceps, which is pretty amazing. And what we were saying before is that neural adaptation, where you're really trying to learn how to fire it up. Some exercises, you really want to get in tune with the biceps to really feel the motion. And that's one thing to take in consideration with a lot of these movements, is the tempo is going to be the eccentric, lowering, concentric, the raising, and even a hold and squeeze the top position. And it's all in order to try to create more stimulus in that muscle, and to really focus on that muscle, the biceps, to really try to get it to grow and to get it to adapt to this training. So concentration curl, excellent movement. And that really rounds out my top 3 favorite exercises. Definitely give them a shot and really try to think about what you're doing in these movements and really try to get in tune with the biceps. Don't go heavy right away. Really learn the movement, really try to get in tune with the biceps and what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing. That's very important because they're there for a reason. It's all in order to move this skeletal structure. So the angles are going to change, the tempo, everything is done for a reason. Don't do it just because someone told you to do it. Do it because you're doing it for a reason. That's going to be what's important in your biceps training. That all in all is a lot of times what people neglect in these videos. They don't just say straight up. They like to say, do these specific exercises and that's gonna grow your biceps. Those specific exercises aren't gonna grow your arms. What I gotta say and what I have to admit is that all the information pretty much on YouTube about how to grow your arms is generally right. You want to incorporate a lot of curls, elbow flexion, different angles. You know, you really want to feel good burn in there. You want to feel good pump. I mean, all that's good. Even if you watch the video because the guy has big arms and that motivates you, that's good too, you know? So all in all, this, I'm not trying to disparage or trying to say that information is wrong. I do want to say that I want to basically put everything to rest as far as there's a secret to building biceps. There's not a secret. It's very simple. Elbow flexion is being consistent with it, is increasing complexity of your exercises, your training as the more advanced you get, and eat right. It's that simple, man. It's a lot of hard work. It takes years, and just stick with it. Have a goal, set to it, and just fucking go for it, man. So that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Yeah, buff dudes, baby.